Hello there. Welcome back to the Alpha Tauri Speedrun, where we're going to try and be able to fight the top teams as quickly as possible, probably by the end of this season. Well, start of next season most likely. If you enjoyed this series so far, please like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And with that out of the way, let's get back to it. We're currently at the summer break. We've done the first 13 races, meaning we have 10 races to go. We're currently sitting comfortably, somewhat comfortably, in fourth, 5 points ahead of Mercedes. But we are going to have some trouble going forward, mainly with our components here. Our engines are getting worn. This is basically the same status for both cars. We're probably going to have to use this engine for 1 or 2 more races, just to make sure that provided we don't have any severe crashes, we'll be able to make our engines last to the end of the season. And with that, hopefully save a little bit of money that we can use on development. Now that is the same for both cars. What also is the same for both cars is the ERS. We are kind of running out of ERS, usable ERS. So we are for sure going to have to buy 1 extra for both cars, meaning we do have a 5 million expenditure there that we really can't get away from. Now pushing might of course have attributed to that. And in terms of the cost cap here, that means we'll have about 30 million left now with 10 races to go. And we're at the 1st of August. So we have a lot of time left in this season, both to develop, progress, and everything like that. But we are going to be doing a couple of projects here. Mainly, we're going to be testing if running normal projects might be a viable way of doing things, because intense design is, in general, 1.5 times more effective. And particularly at lower percentages. When you have very low expertise to start off with, the design will be very effective at making a competitive car very quickly. But as your expertise goes up, that effect is going to be less and less and less as you're getting close to the ceiling. And once you get there, normal projects might be the way to go forward. So we're probably going to transition at some point. But I wanted to use our side pod here. We're currently testing something on the chassis. Once we've done that, we're going to switch this slot here over to test the side pod, where we'll be running normal projects and just see if the gain is worth it. Because again, it's a time constraint as well. If you don't have all your slots filled up, then running normal projects could very well be worth it. And I want to test that because, again, as I learn more things about this game, I will be testing if it's effective or not. And we'll be doing that during the remainder of this season, along with some research. So with that in mind, we're going to continue here, getting our way through this summer break. And we are catching up on parts that we were missing on the manufacturing side. So that too is good. Sideboards and suspension has been manufactured. Race sim has been upgraded. We're not going to be putting in another upgrade of the race sim right away because, well, we need money for the ERSs. You could look at it in the manner that we basically just have 2 million left to spare here. We don't have a lot of money to use. And the chassis design is now complete. This would be, again, the 3rd iteration. This one is potentially something we'd like to put on the car as well, because it is a pretty sizable upgrade in terms of medium and high-speed cornering. We do lose a little bit of top speed though, but it's not a massive loss. And if we were to have a look here at the design project, if we were to make a chassis now, just tune everything down, again, it wouldn't be a huge upgrade compared to our current car. But if we were to, say, tune this down, again, it wouldn't be huge. Wait, that is the wrong one. Let's put everything back to the middle before I let this out. If we tune the engine cooling aspect a little bit down, we're going to have, potentially something that could be really good. We can also tune down top speed a little bit. But as it turns out, chassis is actually really good for the acceleration part. So we could help ourselves out a little bit there, get a little bit more acceleration. But we have to also keep in mind that engine cooling is very important for your durability loss on particularly your engine and your components. So we do want to keep that in mind as well. So we'll have to see exactly how we end up doing this. Might consider just again go kind of abandon the cornering a little bit in exchange for a little bit more engine cooling, a little bit more top speed. But yeah, we'll have to see. We do have that chassis design that we could use. This let's see, this one. It could definitely be usable. It's going to lose us a little bit of engine cooling though, but it's going to have a massive advantage here, particularly in the high-speed corners. The little bit of top speed we lose here, I think that's worth it, honestly. If we were to compare our car with the Red Bull right now, for instance, let's have a quick look. Red Bull right now, again, this probably isn't completely accurate because we're not close to a race weekend, they're probably lacking some pieces on their car, but it looks like they are very much there in terms of their stats we can expect. So we're a little bit over 1 kph behind. Losing a little bit more to potentially surpass them in high-speed corners could definitely be a viable strategy, particularly here at Sandwood, where high-speed and medium-speed corners are, well, a crucial ability to have. So for Sandwood, we might actually do go ahead and make that new chassis that we have. We're going to manufacture it probably for both cars, and we're probably going to be using this to the end of the season. Again, it's a little bit of a loss in engine cooling. Hopefully it's not harsh enough that we'll have to buy more parts, but again, the gains here on these two should be enough here that I think we will be making up for it. So we'll be making these. Again, we probably won't be buying any RS for this race. We're probably just going to have to live with what we got. But since we can't even get them done in time, we'll only have one done within the 10-day limit. We'll just make 2 chassis for $1 million. And as I said, we might actually start a new design project here, which is going to be the side pods. They are quite expensive to design at $1 million, but I want to see if we, say, do this normally. We're going to have a tiny upgrade, and we're just going to keep everything balanced here. We could do engine cooling focus again, get that one kind of fixed up again. But I think we're just going to do a couple of iterations here and see if we can get a better side pod and potentially how much it improves. I really would like to try and test this versus 3 intense designs versus, you know, see if it actually, what the difference between that is. But for now, we're just going to do things as we have been, kind of. We're just going to do 3 normal designs on the side here. Of course, the problem here is time. We only have 103 days left of the season, so if we do 3 designs, it won't actually, you know, affect us in any way, shape, or form that is positive. So again, I'm a little bit unsure if we want to test this out this season. We could, of course, do something like this to cancel out the loss we had earlier. Engine cooling is also very effective on this part. As you can see, we lose, again, a little bit of kph. But we could do something like this straight up right here. Get way more engine cooling, lose a little bit of airflow. We could also balance that out as we see fit, trade it for a little bit more of high airflow. So I think we potentially will do this. Again, it's very small in terms of the loss we're getting, and we're going to be getting some more engine cooling, which we actually might need to the end of the season. So I'll do the normal versus intense design at these low levels as a separate thing some other time. But for now, we're just going to make this and probably just research for the rest of the season. I think that is an okay scenario. Because intense is very, very nice, particularly early here. But some data has emerged basically on Discord, my Discord, and some other places where we could have potential for, well, potential for normal being potentially better. But again, it's going to require some testing. And again, the intense design multiplies 1.5 to expertise. So particularly when your expertise is low, it can be very, very effective because you'll get less and less expertise as your expertise gets higher and you get closer to the ceiling, which in 22 was 80%. Well, it was around 80%. So we'll see what we actually end up with on this game. So I'll be experimenting a little bit with that. And as I said, as I figure things out, I will be letting you know, of course, in this series with new guides and everything like that. Now, I want to just have a quick look here, see if any of the top staff is interested in us. Not yet. We could potentially get this man interested, I think. So we'll scout him in the future. I don't think we can pick up Red Bulls, but if we can pick up him, that would be amazing in terms of an upgrade. And we might even push the other Ferrari engineer as well. Sorry, the head of aerodynamic. So we'll just scout these two. We should probably scout a few more though, just so that we get knowledge of their contracts. If their contracts do run out at the end of the season, we could have some good luck then, you know, picking up a better one. And maybe we'll just steal the entire Ferrari crew here. We'll see. We are getting close to that point though, since, well, we are getting, as I said, very close to that point. We're halfway through the season, a little bit above that. So we'll see how things go. Engineer and driver tension. Okay, so the engineer and Tsunoda aren't on the best of terms right now. We could acknowledge the problem, which will give Tsunoda more aggression. I believe he's already a highly aggressive driver. We could also try and intervene. So they're still going to lose some affinity. Tension may improve or may worsen. So again, we're going to lose some affinity here. Currently, Speedy and Tsunoda have great affinity. Let's see if how much they lose when we... I think we're going to do intervention here. Again, Tsunoda is already very aggressive, and he is kind of error-prone. So, if we do, you know, make him even more aggressive, that could be bad. So, we're going to gamble on intervention. And there we go. Let's see if that actually had an effect on their affinity. Not immediately. Let's see if a couple of days passes. Then again, their affinity could be high enough where it's not a concern. And as you can see, affinity is still great, but it could also be that we need to wait for the answer to that dilemma. Lawson's performance has increased, very good. And again, we won't know what actually has increased unless we have good memory before the end of this month. Underfloor research has been completed. Railwing research has been completed. With that, I think we can have a look here and see. As you can see, hasn't updated yet exactly what we have, you know, gotten done in terms of research, but we will be focusing a little bit more into low speed for sure. So both underfloor and rear wing has, you know, been researched. And once again, it doesn't actually show you anything here in terms of the benefits. So we'll have to just wait for basically a tick there to have a look at that. But the benefits should be there. Now we are going to start more research projects, which means that we will not be able to buy an ERS right away. That should still be okay. 13 days for more CFD time. And what we are going to be focusing on, I think, is that low speed right now, because we need to kind of try and catch up in that. It's going to be 0.40 loss, so we're going to need to do a few projects to make sure that we don't lose any at the start of next season. We could also try and balance things out a little bit, just a little bit of gain in everything. But again, it's kind of a weird one. And funnily enough, if you do this, we'd still have decent gains across the board. So it's a bit of a weird one. So for now, we are going to do one where we just focus a little bit into getting that low speed back on track. Again, just going to do one engineer. That should be fine. And again, we are going to be spending money, which means we can't buy the ERS, but that is perfectly fine. Now, in terms of the suspension, I don't think we're going to be focusing too much research on it until we've caught up with the front wing, rear wing, and side pods. But again, we could also start doing some research in other areas if we see the need. So for this one, I think it's actually better to just do it like this. We are going to lose a lot of low speed, but the thing is here, we can focus that up again next season, no problem. And our expertise is already really low here, so as you can see, doing something like this, I think, is probably going to benefit us more in the long term, even though the one that we're losing the most of it's the low speed one. So we'll have a look. We could also, of course, put in some DRS effectiveness research if we really wanted to, and you know, that could be an option. But for now, for this project, we're going to do it like this. Focus on what we're actually losing. And that puts us into a monetary level where we can't actually buy a new ERS for this race. So they'll just have to, again, live with what we have, which means that we aren't going to have potentially the best result. So we'll just have to deal with that. Now, I'm actually allowed to alter that one. That must be a bug. Okay. Fastest lap, I don't think we're going to get that. Reach Q3. Both drivers is a bit of a gamble, but we might be if we're lucky. So we're going to go with that. With that, we'll head to the Dutch race weekend. As I said, what we are going to focus on, what we're going to develop might change in the future. But again, I'll be sticking with what we've been doing here, which is basically intense and some research into what we're losing. And we'll see where we're at next season. And I might make another video, another series later on, where I explain what I did wrong, what I could have done better, things like that, when we find better strategies. So this is what we're going to go with. It has been working, so there's no reason to really doubt it, but at the same time, I know there is probably a better way of doing things out there, but for now, I feel like this is more than good enough for us. So let's jump into the Dutch Grand Prix. Alright, I'm jumping in again here to just give you a little bit of a heads up again about qualifying. So in qualifying, you should probably set your run plan to 2 runs at certain tracks. Dutch Grand Prix seems to be one of them. If we have a quick look at the data view here, lap history. So in Sector 1, Rick here improved by almost 7/10. Well, basically he improved by 7/10. 6/10, sorry. Yes, he improved by 6/10. Sorry, my math's is a little bit off. But he improved by 6/10 from lap 1 to lap 2. He improved by 2/10 here. basically the same around here. In Tsunoda's case too, he improved by around 6/10 in Sector 1 and 2/10 Sector 2, and actually had a bit of a degradation in Sector 3. But some tracks it does seem to have the problem with running just one flying lap, that the drivers don't actually get a proper run to the line, they don't get the tires properly fired up. And one of the ways to combat this is to set them into a 2-run, which will give you a lot better lap times. And that is also probably why a lot of people see that, oh, if I take manual control, I do a lot better. And that is, again, probably as a result of the AI on just one flying lap having some tire warmer issues. And by running 2 flying laps back to back, you alleviate those issues on the tracks that have that problem. This will not work on every track, but on some tracks like Sandboard, you'll have a huge gain in your times. So let's go through here what we're doing in terms of setting that up. And keep in mind, this does seem kind of buggy because sometimes it will not do the 2 flying laps, it will do something else. And the idea is very simple. Well, now we actually have rain, so I can't really show it off, but usually when you do your quali runs, the starting run plan looks like this. All you need to do is click 2, remove this, and you're gonna have to do this before every quali run because for some it doesn't say, but they will reset to just 1 run if you don't, and I feel that is weird. But you want to set your run plan to 2 flying laps, and that is going to give you results like you saw on the last run out there. It's really effective at actually getting you a tremendous increase in lap time. I've seen this at several tracks where we've had that half a second gain, 6/10 gain from one flying lap to the next, purely because we were running them back to back. So keep that in mind. It could be an incredibly good way to get a little bit of an edge on the AI, because the AI will also, they will not be doing that. They'll only do that one flying lap, which means that they'll be slow on tracks where this is the case. And as I said, Sandboard is definitely one of them. You've probably already seen the quali guide, but these are indeed the results from the playthrough itself. The guides are made with the playthrough, but as you can see, the quali strategy here really did pay off in this case, Sandboard in particular. I'll be updating the guide as I go on which tracks you can get huge advantages, but yeah, this is a very good result and should give us an excellent chance of actually having, you know, a good race. Now, we are going to be using damaged machinery, and what I mean by this is we're going to be putting the old damage on the car. And again, we are going to have to use these two engines for a couple of races. We are going to have to use... honestly, we probably should just go all in here, to be fair. Use these engines. The only ratio is that this one might just last one more practice, and we still wanted to use these for probably a race or 2 each. So it's going to harm us from that perspective. But let's first see here. Can we put together a strategy that allows us to be aggressive? We can't here. We probably won't be able to, which just means that using that old engine is probably for the best, even if we're starting further up the grid. And I know that this might be very passive. It might be very, to some degree, cowardly. But the reason why we're doing this is we have a fairly slow car. Having an engine advantage would be great, but we are not holding on to first and third here unless we also can have an advantage during the race itself. And with the degradation here at Sandboard, we just can't. It's not going to happen. So we are just going to kind of capitulate. We are going to be running this strategy. We'll probably be pushing a little bit towards the end of each stint, but that would be the limit of it. We are going to be following the plan here. We're going to start on the mediums. Because we are starting at the front, we can start on the mediums and try our best to just hold on to those potentially quicker cars that will be starting right behind us. And again, we are going to have to replace that ERS sometime soon as well. So this is going to be the plan. And we'll see, and hopefully it'll pay off for us, but it's kind of hard to judge. It was a great quali though, and we'll take that with us. Considering how we qualied, this was a nightmare of a race. Rick is down to 8th. Tsunoda into 16th. Once again, we have a case of a safety car coming up literally just a couple laps after we pitted, keeping everyone free pit stop, losing us a bunch of positions. And then we had Tsunoda basically locking up the car enough that we needed to put him on an extra pit stop to compensate because he really wrecked those tires. Which is very unfortunate, but it is what it is. Rick also had a spin, but generally we just didn't have the pace today. Both Mercs did end up beating us. So they should be back up in 4th now. We'll have to deal with that as it goes, but it's just a bad weekend altogether. They happen. They're 5 points ahead. I still wouldn't be too concerned though. We did breach the 1.9 second barrier for our pit stops with Tsunoda. And he also did pick up a pit stop error here. Car released early. which also of course screwed him. As you can see, those tires were basically dead on lap 68. I'm pretty sure if I left him out for another lap, he would have had a puncture. So we didn't really have a choice there. Just generally a really, really bad time for him with lockups and the like. Same here for Rick. So although we had probably the best qualifying we've had so far, we couldn't capitalize on it because, well, the track doesn't really allow for it. We made a lot of money though. The track doesn't really allow for it with pushing the tires, which is one of the things that we've really been taking advantage of in terms of getting ourselves points. But also the fact that, well, we are running a damaged ERS, we are running damaged, a lot of damaged machinery, and we're probably going to do the same here in Italy. We're going to be running a lot of damaged machinery purely because it's going to help us out with, in the future. That's going to be the idea. So engine and driver tension, despite your intervention, I don't think the tension has improved. Okay, all we can do now is wait. So they lose some affinity. I guess now we see how hard that affinity hit actually is. They've fallen down from great affinity, good affinity. We'll probably go up over time again, but it's a bit of a confidence problem in the next few races. Shouldn't be too bad. We had a red wing fail, but luckily again, no damage, even though we had all of those shenanigans. So I'll take that. We've been incredibly lucky with that this season to the point where we're probably going to end up crashing out in the last few races and have to buy a new engine and potentially break cost cap because we are getting there. If, say, both cars were to break an engine, we're going to lose 10 million. We are going to be spending 5 million of this money on a couple of new ERSs. So we are getting within, you know, the point here where breaking the cost cap becomes possible. So we'll have to be careful with particular facility upgrades, but also development and research. We have spent 80 million so far this season. Now, we did have a research actually finish, but before that, let's just replace that rear wing. And we are going to manufacture a new one, which is going to cost a little bit of money. And as I said, we're probably going to do one more race with the bad ERS, so we'll have to see exactly how we deal with that. The front wing research did complete, so we're just going to immediately start a new one. And again, we are probably going to be a bit more focused towards the medium speed. We can probably have a look and see where we're at with that, because we are going to need that boost next season. So let's go ahead here and check the board and see if we have actually got an update on what we need to research. Here we are. As you can see, we're losing 27 kilonewtons worth of low speed force on the front wing. We have basically caught up with the high speed loss. We still have a little bit on the medium, but mainly the low speed is what we're going to be losing out on. For the rear wing, it's the same. We're going to need to focus a little bit more on the low speed aspect of things. And for the underfloor, we're about halfway there. We have covered the high speed. We need to do just a little bit more for the medium. So the main focus is going to be on covering up that low speed loss. Suspension, we haven't actually started working on yet, but we'll have to see what we do with that. We'll see what we actually have time for. So with that, let us go back to the research. We are going to be focusing, as I said, high speed we don't really need right now. This is the wrong screen. This is the design of the research one. But we are going to do a research project for the front wing again. And that's going to make it so that we can't buy ERSs this next race, but that is fine. We're just going to have to live with it. So this should completely cancel out the medium speed one. So do something like that, maybe. A little bit of more of a boost on the low speed, but we're still going to need at least one more project. And again, it's a bit of a rough one on what we actually want to do here. In terms of, you know, cancelling these things out. We could, of course, also invest into brake cooling. Gain a little bit there. But at the same time, we're going to do this first. Although, yeah, we're going to get the low force research done first. And it'll be done in October. So we'll have probably time for a couple more projects after that. But at the same time, we are kind of limited now on time mainly, so research should probably start at the half-season point. But again, it'll depend mainly on your, money. So we're going to do one more race where we're running a bad engine, a bad ERS, and most likely we won't really finish in the points here. It's going to be very difficult, because even as we had a 1 1/3 start finish last time around, we just got eaten up by the other teams because of this damage. So we'll do that for one more race, which is going to be Italy. And again, the reason being is very, very simple. If we do this, we should be able to stretch the components to the end of the season, and we'll save potentially 10 million. And saving those 10 million is actually going to be huge for development. So we are going to just throw away 2 races, and we'll still try and fight Mercedes. Now, in terms of the finances for next season, in terms of Where is that? Is it on the board? Rules, regulation, financial? In terms of the price share here, finishing 5th or finishing 4th is just 1.5 million difference. So it's not major in terms of the prize money either. So there's no reason to really fight for 4th here. If we get 5th, we're very happy with that as well. So yeah, that is the idea. Now the month did take over, which means we have some new news here. Driver update, point and smoothness for Tsunoda, and he keeps on improving his accuracy. I think we might be forced here to try and switch him over because he's reaching the point now where he can potentially maximize his accuracy in races, which is kind of nuts. But we might switch him over to either wheel to wheel, get braking up, control up, but it's still both of those are pretty decent right now. Race strategy to get smoothness, cornering, braking. Again, we put him on this to get up his control and smoothness, but what he's mainly been getting is accuracy. So I don't know what would be a good thing to put him on. We could put him on pace here. Again, smoothness, cornering, and reactions. It doesn't do anything for his control, which is a bit of a problem. But we're going to put him on this as a bit of a gamble. Get these stats up, should be okay. Smoothness is actually pretty important, as I've said in this year's game, so getting that up would be nice. Now, in terms of staff that is interested in us, I don't think there's anyone just yet of the top ones. So we might wait until the end of the season to try and poach someone. For now, though, we'll just let the contracts run out, and if we need to, we'll just re-contract them later. Now, Q2, both drivers should no problem getting there. Qualifying position, I'm going to gamble on both of us being in Q2 again, because we can actually push for that. We can just slap in the new engine. The ERS is still going to have damage, though, so we can actually buy it now with the monthly takeover money. So we might just buy the ERSs and take the penalties next race. The penalties, of course, are going to start us further back, but by using those ERSs in quali, taking the penalties, we should be, have an easy time for the rest of the season. Now, with the new, we're going to still focus pit crew errors in terms of pit stop times. Nothing really changes, so we are going to go ahead here and move these guys over to pit stop training again. And as I said, I don't really like having them working this late in at the end of the month, so we're going to move them over to rest for now. It's going to lose us out a little bit in terms of the car building because the stats do degrade. We don't lose anything in terms of the pit stop speed. So this is okay by me. We can, well, it isn't a race weekend, so we actually don't have anything to worry about. All of these are good. We can actually add in a couple more sessions here. We could do like 1 or 2 sessions of car building just to, make sure that it doesn't degrade. And we are just on the limit here, as you can see. We're going to be tired, but we are going to be in good spirits, and we'll just get a slight loss here of errors. We are going to be focusing a lot on the pit stops, but even then, the gain is going to be pretty minor this month, but it's just how it is sometimes. So we agree with this. Basically, minus, if we have a look at our tired, minus 0.3% chance of, well, not really, because as you can see, we are well rested at the start of this month, so we're losing almost another percentage in the chance of making an error, well, 0.9. The pit stop time remains the same, and we get slightly quicker at car build-in. Here we are at Italy. We're about to get ready for quali, and as you can see, we do have some damaged car parts for both our cars here. I also realized just now that I completely forgot that we have made that new chassis. We haven't actually put it on our cars yet. Unfortunately, its top speed is going to be affected, but I think the gain in terms of the high speed here will, more than make up for that. As you can see, we're gaining on our rivals quite a bit here. Now, as I said, I forgot about this part, which is a shame, because that means we didn't use the last race in Sandalwood, where it would actually have, maximum power. But we now have that on the car. Secondly, this is our current setup. This is our best, well, not really our best engine, but we'll use a better engine in quali. And as I said, we will be buying new ERSs for both our cars here. We don't really have a choice. And we are going to be using those new ERSs. We kind of have to, there's 8 races to go. These are going to be broken probably during practice. But at the same time, we don't really have much of a choice in that regard. And it's the same here. These engines, we could try and use these engines, but we still have so many races to go that I think we are going to be using the yellow ones for one more race just to make sure that we can make things work. But at the same time, from a different perspective, these engines are going to be probably running down pretty quick. So generally use about 5 to 6% per race. I think we can use these now. We're going to be down to about 41% on them if these survive all the practice sessions, which they probably will not do. So for the last few races of this season, we are probably going to be running shitty engines, but we are going to be doing the upgrades here in terms of the ERS and jumping over to our final good engine. And that is just going to be a gamble that we will be going for in this race. If it's going to pay off or not is a completely different story. But I think that it is worth it to try it. As you can see here, we hit 100% here. And in terms of compounds, we're looking good. So I'm just going to get quality done quick. We'll see how we do in the race. And again, we are pretty far in, honestly. This is round 15. Again, we have basically, 9 races left, including this one. So I think it's fine to switch over, but it is... it's basically either we switch over now or we switch over next race. So we're going to try and switch over here and hope that during these next 9 races that if we have any crashes, they don't affect the ERS and they don't affect the engine, because that could be very expensive very quickly and could potentially also drive us over the cost cap if we are unfortunate. So we're going to start qualifying here and we'll see how we do. Just want to show you again that the qualifying strategy that is working. I put a guide out on it. I'll be updating that as we go with the times. This is probably I'll probably keep on updating you guys on the qualifying times in game, but here at Monza 2 we're seeing about a 5/10 increase. That's half a second. Now usually the outlaws would be about 28.8, 28.9. So even at Tsunoda, even on the first lap here, we do see an increase, and it's kind of the same for Tsunoda. 28.3 on a push lap, 28.9 on an in. He got blocked on the first one here, so it's really relatable. But the 2 flying laps does definitely have an effect, and it does allow you to qualify a lot better than you otherwise would have, because this is the flying lap that we would have had without, this is the flying lap we have with. So for Monza, huge difference, basically almost 8/10 over the course of the whole lap. So a huge amount of time you can actually gain there. We're actually going to see a lot of penalties in this next session here, as you can see, a bunch of them. So with that in mind, we could have some pretty good potential here, maybe even podium potential, because those who are not taking penalties by the looks of it are pretty slow. Like, we are half a tenth up on the Aston. That shouldn't be possible, but this is still just Q2, so we'll see where we're at the end of Q3. So for the race itself, as you can see, we're being hit with 10 place grid penalties, which places 9th and 7th. That's perfectly acceptable, honestly. It's not really a problem. And we did actually qualify fairly well in 2nd and 4th, but I did bungle that last run, so they only got 1 flying lap. We could potentially have been, front row, but we will basically be fighting the Red Bulls anyway, so it's not a huge deal. And on this track, in terms of strategy, we can go a tad aggressive here. As you can see, we can go full speed. And we can have a look at how it stacks up against the one-stoppers. It is potentially 10 seconds quicker, but you can actually do some, stuff here where you actually change, particularly that one, and maybe even that one. So one stop here could potentially be a lot quicker, but at the same time, I feel like this is probably more reliable. Now, what we can do is what we usually do, which is switch around the tire allocation, so to speak, and do medium first, and then do soft. Could definitely help us out here in terms of getting things done. Now, this is gonna mean that the only way this is gonna work is we're not cooking our tires, so we can just test this. If the tires start cooking, we just jump over to this strategy, and we're all good. We could also, of course, jump to this one, but again, this should be quicker, so we'll be going for that. We'll be doing this for both drivers. If it doesn't work, we cook our tires, we jump onto a different strategy. It's fairly elementary, so that is going to be the strategy here. Hopefully we can have a good result. We do have, as I said, a upgraded car this time around, so this is probably going to be our best chance of at anything, really. So hopefully we can pull something off. Is that a full attack run on the final one? Yeah, it is. Okay. I think this is the same one. It's a tad bit slower, maybe. We'll see. I don't remember what I put for Tsunoda. But, yeah, full attack on the final one. We'll just match it to Tsunoda's pit stop, so that should be no issue. So, yeah. That's how we're going to approach this race again. We have fresh components now. I would have liked to keep them fresh a little bit longer, but we'll be going for maximum points now in the next 4 or 5 races to try and build ourselves a little bit of a buffer for when we potentially have some bad results during those last 2, 3, maybe 4 races. We'll see how it goes. So let's see how we do here at Monza. Finished race 7th and 8th, not really the result we were hoping for, but looking at the timing sheets here, we were just 2 seconds for, well, Tsunoda, 4 seconds for Rick behind Alonso here in 5th, and to be fair, we would have gotten both of them if it wasn't for the fact that we made a slight error, and that error is, in Rick's case, a lockup that cost him probably 4th place, probably a fight for the podium, to be honest. He was running with Perez when he locked up, and we had pretty decent pace, so probably cost him, as I said, a fight for the podium. Lost about 15% of tire wear, so that was a pretty bad one. Tsunoda also lost about 4 seconds on the pit stop, not as bad, but at the same time, not great. So yeah, with this, Red Bull still dominating, Ferrari clear 2nd, Aston Martin clear 3rd, and we are fighting with Merc for that 4th place, but now we're back in the lead. Unfortunately, again, couldn't capitalize on today's race, but we are getting very, very good here on the pit stops, sub 1.9 seconds. So this one's basically in the bag. And as you can see here, Tsunoda did get hit with that 4-second, longer pit stop as a result of that error. And it is what it is. Sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it goes the other way. And potentially, if we didn't have to take that penalty here for that ERS, we would have had a potentially much better result, but now we have more money to spend, so I'm happy. Again, the aim here is 4th now. Great force the initial one, now we're aiming for 4th. And Tsunoda levels up, very nice. Did he hit another point in accuracy somehow? That would actually be kind of hilarious. Chassis manufactured, team hub upgraded, which is very nice. Again, getting the weekly development up is going to be very nice. Feature race results for F2. Car part inspection results. We still have pass failing, both front wings. That could be a problem. But Singapore is in 11 days, so we should have plenty of time to manufacture that. And yeah, I don't think we have too much of a problem. Did it not say that more parts failed? Did I? Because I feel I just replaced 2. It says the chassis failed on car 1. Did I? I guess I swapped that out without thinking. Yay me, I'm working autopilot. We are going to have to manufacture a few things then. 2 more of these chassis, which is going to cost us money. We do need more front wings, which is also going to cost us money. And for the sideboards here, because we do have a sideboard project in the making here, we're not going to be manufacturing any of these if we end up needing them, but I think we are... I think we're up to... Yeah, we're up to speed now on parts. The reason why these guys are, showing up red is because their contracts are expiring. Now, however, this guy we are going to renew for sure. We're just gonna do very simple and keep our race engineers. I think they are doing okay. It's not a problem to keep them, but we will probably be trying to switch out both of these lads by the end of the season, and that should help us with getting a bit more of a boost. So I'm just going to quickly try and negotiate a settlement, basically a new contract. I'm going to give him a little bit of a booster in his pay. Let's see if he agrees with that. Okay, so we're not paying him enough, and let's give him a little bit more then, see how he feels about this. And that is the thing, these contracts can get very expensive very quickly, but there we go, we have him now for 5 seasons. He's basically getting a 33% increase though in his paycheck, so yeah, that's a bit of a yikes one. Again, we might re-sign this guy later if need be, but we are also going to be, probably if we finish 4th, have some interest from these higher rated boys. That is basically going to be the goal at least. So with staffing improvements to next season, winning next season wouldn't really be too much of a pipe dream. Now, development wise, we have still a month before we get the first research, 2 weeks before we get this one. It'll basically be done right after Singapore. That is perfectly okay. Front wings are now up to date. It's just the chassis that we're missing. And we do have financial changes here. So what we could do is vote for this, because if we manage to get 4th, we could potentially get a little bit more prize money, but so would the top teams. Particularly 2nd place here would get 2nd and 3rd would get a huge increase in their money. And honestly, I think we're just going to vote against this because of the fact that we do want these lower rated teams to have money so that they can fight us. So let's go ahead and vote against that. But however, if we're going to finish 4th, we probably would have, we would have benefited from voting for it. So with that in mind, we could keep things as they are. Now, Mech is here. In terms of his performance, he is the sporting director. He has high processes, he has high aptitude. Basically, those are the 2 stats that I would personally focus on. We could potentially snatch him, but at the same time, our current sporting director is doing pretty well. 92, 92, 77. Again, we could, of course, basically upgrade him by picking up a new one. We'd have to break the contract, though. So, again, we'll take that discussion at the end of the season. As you can see here, this man is 3 months left on his contract. He has low morale. So potentially what's going to happen here is that he is probably not going to re-sign with Ferrari. So that means we could, if we're lucky, snatch him up for free. Tondi, he has high morale. He might re-sign. But again, his contract is also running out in 3 months. So if we can get, if we can improve our team rating by getting 4th, we're probably going to get into a, much more promising position in terms of snatching him. This man, too, is out of a contract. He's getting paid a lot of money, though, so we'll have to see if we want to snatch him up. But, again, we do want to try and get ourselves a better staff, and we could snatch the Ferrari trio. That is the funny part here, if we do our job well with our upgrades. So we'll have to see how that goes. Again, operational facilities here. Could go for upgrading the boardroom to get a little bit more of team attractiveness. Could go for this one to get an extra 10% of it. But I think we're going to refurbish the helipad first and foremost for extra sponsor payouts. And again, a lot of these rooms do have benefits to the team attractiveness. Hospitality area is probably one of the things we could invest in. But Team Hub will do the job as well. Morale, team attractiveness, and of course weekly development. So I think we're going to be investing into this one before that. And of course we still need money to get our research done, and of course we want to get the race up and running as well. So for now, those are going to be the facilities that we're going to focus on. For now, we aren't going to be touching these facilities yet, but they are starting to get into a position where we are going to have to refurbish them. And that's going to be expensive, so we might upgrade them soon-ish. But at the same time, we don't need to right now. That's the thing. There's no need for that. So with that in mind, let's head into Singapore, and hopefully we come out unscathed, because this is one of those, dangerous places. Well, dangerous, racetracks. So we have a problem here with the wind tunnel data concern. It's going to shut down the sidepod design for an additional 10 days. We have a chance of the project worsening, so we're just going to approve the investigation. That sidepod project being delayed isn't that bad. We can live with it, because again, we are already fighting Merc, so as long as we do well, we could definitely have, the goals that we're hoping for. Once again, we're just going to be very passive here, very safe. 1 drive in the top 10. It is a bit of a cowardly one, but it is over, it is over time. So it should be okay to do that, be a little bit cowardly. Money-wise, we are in a good position. And again, we're just going to skip fastest lap here. I don't feel the risk is worth it. Although we did get fastest lap last race around. So cost cap-wise, again, 23 million left. If we need to buy engines, that's 10 million. Meaning that we really don't have a lot of wiggle room right now. There's still a lot left of this season. So we're going to have to gamble on the engines that we have carrying us to the end. So let's see how we do in Singapore. We're back qualifying this time around. Rick is out in Q2. Basically could not get a single good run in. As an example, we have Tsunoda being over a second quicker than this run. Whenever he was starting a run, the other drivers just got in the way. Couldn't get us anything out of this, even though he probably did 5 runs in Q2 there. Every single time there was a driver in the way. So just a case of bad luck here, because as you can see, Tsunoda is running 130s. He was running a little bit slower in Q1, but in general, you'd expect him to get into Q2 quite reliably, even though this time it's just barely enough to beat out Albon's here, and Russell barely beat Albon as well. So it's a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. We did lose out here in Q2. It's going to also cost us a bit of money, but that's fine. We are going to do Q3 here with Tsunoda, and hopefully it will go well. Tsunoda did a little bit better, starting here in 5th, qualifying 7th. We had a couple of penalties. Once again, we have a track where we can't really push. We're probably going to still try the 2-stopper, but as you see here, pushing just isn't viable. We're going to be losing time. So we'll probably just push a slight amount at the end of each stint, but that is what we're going to be going with. We could, of course, try a cheeky 1-stopper here, but at the same time, it's just about 10 seconds. This is also very risky in terms of, you know, if we have more tire drag, just one lockup and we are basically out of it. So this is potentially quicker if we don't get stuck behind other cars, of course. But at the same time, I think it's probably the better strategy. The hard here could be the play too, honestly. But as you can see, even the hards degrade really quick, even if you go the full stint on attack. So we're going to go soft, medium, soft. It's not the best that we can do. Well, it's not the best for us because we can't really, you know, go aggressive on it. But we'll see if we can get Rick back in the points and keep Tsunoda where he is or higher. We still have to fight against Merck. And let's face it, Singapore is not a good track for us, so we'll just have to do the best out of it. There we are, we're done in Singapore, and unfortunately, it was another one of those kind of performances that we don't want to write home about. Luckily enough, Mercedes didn't have too much of a good day either. Hamilton 6th is the best they managed, so we're just going to be losing 2 points to them this race. Verstappen once again picking up a win. So I'd say we can be happy with this result because, again, it's not a track that suits us very well. And it is a bit unfortunate, but it's what it is. Pit stops went well. And unfortunately, once again, we had a couple of pit stops error this time around. But as you can see, didn't lose too much time on them, so it's okay. They didn't really change anything. It put Tsunoda a little bit further back into traffic, but other than that, we were okay. It does, however, cost us money because we didn't get both drivers into Q3. So that is a tad unfortunate, but it is what it is. Sometimes things just aren't going the way you expect. Hamilton levels up. Speedy levels up, both red engineers, and we also had the facility refurbishment there, which is good. Engineer drive attention. Apparently they have, you know, fixed their problems. Seems to be resolved. Tsunoda loses aggression. They get their morale and affinity back, so let's just get that done with. Again, this is one of those, you have to actually press that button, but you don't have any other choice, so no big there. Looks like the financial changes got voted down, so doesn't matter where we finish, the money's going to be the same. And we actually do have a lot of parts here that need replacing, which could be a bit of a problem, seeing that the next race is just 4 days away. So if we are a little bit unlucky in practice or quali, potentially we could, you know, put ourselves into a, you know, compromising situation. But for now, I think it's still fine. We are going to be, of course, needing to spend money for these last few races on things that we need. So with that in mind, it's a little bit of a concern with that in mind at the moment, and the cost cap, I think, will still be fine. Again, it's the staff contract expiring. We're not too worried about that. And in terms of facilities here, I might actually go for improving the race sim here, but at the same time, it's either improving that or getting more research going, because it's just 2 weeks until this research is done. So I think we'll wait for now, and we'll get the race sim upgraded some other time. Revving has been manufactured. We're back up to the level where we should be. We have Japan today, and hopefully this track will suit us a little better. Again, the main focus is here. Sorry. There we go. The main focus on this track is medium and high speed, so it should help us a little bit more. Acceleration, DRS, we have pretty good on both of those. So this track should suit us a little bit more, but the abrasiveness is high, so we'll have to see just how bad the degradation actually becomes. So if it's still okay, we should be fine. But if it does become bad, this could be very quickly become another one of those bad races of ours. So we'll have to see how we actually end up performing. And I'm just going to double check here that we have everything that we should on every car. Looks like this car is okay. And it looks like this car is okay too, because we have, as I said, the correct additions. We could put on this new front wing, but again, medium and high speed being the focus, we won't do that. I probably should have put on that wing though for Singapore, probably would have helped us out a bit, but it is what it is. Sometimes we make mistakes, and sometimes that is forgetting a part or forgetting to switch them out, and I tend to do that, so my bad. But we'll go to Japan and we'll see if we have a bit of a better result. Quali went well, also wet quali, so we ended up 5th and 7th. However, we did have one problem, and that was that in the phase from changing to dries to wet, Tsunoda ran wide and broke an underfloor, meaning that we did lose, as said, that one underfloor. We're now down to 3, but at least we had some, race damage, one could say. Now, in terms of strategy for this race, it's actually going to be quite interesting because it's going to be starting on the wet, but it's immediately going to go inters, if this is correct, within like 2-3 laps. So currently it's right above what would be into territory, 4.8. But again, it's just going to be maintained for a lap, and then it's just going to go immediately into the gutter. So what I'm thinking we're going to do here is actually just start on the inters straight away. We are going to be holding up cars behind us, which kind of is going to be the point. So we're going to go on the inters, and hopefully that will actually be beneficial to us. So once again, I'll be showing a little bit of race footage here, because again, I think going on the inters is the play. This is if we go attack the entire way, but we probably won't. But at the same time, we are going to be probably doing a 1-stopper here, maybe a 2-stopper. We'll have to see. It is going to be quite wet. So strategy here is going to be probably drive few final laps that we'll have to see. Again, we only have 60% on the weather center, but even then I can trust this in this game. Last year's game you couldn't. This year's game you know that, oh, these might move a lap or two to the right or to the left. So we're going to do the gamble. We're going to start on the inters, and we're going to see if it pays off, or if we're going to be sitting with, just filled with sadness. We're starting 5th, 4th, and 6th due to Alonso taking penalties.
They're ready to go here at the Japanese Grand Prix. It's lights out, and away we go.
Lights out, away we go. Immediately we're just going to toggle the battle assist.
Okay.
And let's enjoy a wet start to the race here with Tsunoda. So as you can see, the AI chose the exact same strategy. We're all on inters, so with that in mind, doesn't really matter what time we choose there. The AI actually adapted to the conditions, which is surprising, but a welcome surprise for sure. So this is the new camera that people are very happy about, the Weiser cam, and it looks good, particularly here in the wet in Suzuka. So we're just going to enjoy it a little bit. We did lose out of position to Verstappen, or rather we are fighting him. He is on our inside here. And we are still battling. You can see him coming up there, and he did overtake us, which isn't surprising. It's the Red Bull. Ferraris and the Red Bulls, we really shouldn't be beating them. But, hey, it's a wet race, anything can happen. We'll see where we're at when we get closer to the end.
Okay.
So I'm a bit worried here. We're at the end of the Japanese Grand Prix. We've done well. We are running out of, as you can see, tyre, and the competitors behind us, they have a bit of an advantage. Ferrari and Red Bull has been leading. They kind of left us behind immediately, as you saw. But we are fighting for 5th and 6th here, and Tsunoda just ran wide and picked up some floor damage. So potentially, we could end up in a situation where we are gonna break the cost cap. Luckily, it didn't affect his powertrain, I think. So at least that we got that going for us, which is good. But we also had a red flag in this race around lap 22. Hulkenberg was very kind to provide us with that opportunity so everyone has done a free pit stop, which technically no one has pitted. Now, track is getting very dry, but again, there's no real reason here to pit for that. We're just going to try and keep things going now for these last couple laps. So Tsunoda is probably going to lose a bit of pace here because, again, his tires just perished. So we're going to deploy ERS. Probably should have done this a lap earlier, but because of that red flag too, we also have had a lot of extra fuel, which we've been running with. So we are just going to push here and try and stay away from the scary Russell and scary Alonso and scary, well, not specifically scary Hamilton, but Russell and Alonso, who are more or less trying to hunt us down here. And for Rick's sake here, we're just going to do this. Mainly so that they don't crash into each other, hopefully. Yeah, your tires are very, very hot now, I know. That's because we're trying to secure you the 5th place here on the final run. We got it done, pretty good. But we did lose 2 underfloors to damage this weekend. And one of those were a fresh underfloor, which is even worse. But we've got some good points here, particularly on Merc. So this was a really, really good weekend. Basically another 10 points gained in that fight. And Tsunoda moves up to 9th ahead of Hamilton. So yeah, very, very nicely done. Now, because of the fact that we didn't really have any pit stops, it seems like they have just awarded them randomly. And they decided to give us 0, so that is kind of an interesting one. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. The noise you're hearing is the the screenshot from F1 Manager, but we only have that one pit stop from Show, who ran wide early in the race. So yeah, that's a bit weird. I feel like they shouldn't be handing out points if you know, there hasn't been any real pit stops. We did hit our performance targets this weekend though, gave us a decent chunk of money, which is always good. And chassis manufacture is complete. And because of the damage that we suffered to, well, the car, we are potentially going to have some problems here. So we did indeed discover a fault that could have escalated over time, with that resolved. Okay, so potentially if we had chosen the other option, we would have had a bit of a problem in the future, so we avoided that. Which is good, let's be honest. It's better than nothing. Now, we did destroy, as you can see here, 2 underfloor for car 2, Tsunoda, and we had a rear wing fail, so we're going to have to replace that. And with that, we're going to have to manufacture 2 new ones. It's going to cost us a bit of money. And also, that rear wing failed, so we're going to replace it, and we're going to manufacture 1 of those. So we're still up to date, I think, on everything here. It's just the side pods. We are researching new ones, so that is understandable. Again, the red note there is from the technical chief, so wouldn't be too worried about that. But the side pod design is finishing just now. Very good. Next race is in Qatar, which means that we are actually going to be able to make a side pod before then. And again, this side pod is the engine cooling one. It's going to be a slight loss in performance, but we have no manufacturing capacity, so we won't have it for the next race anyways. And let's just have a quick look here on, well, we should look at this before the next race weekend, to be honest, because it's not accurate right now. With that, we have another slot available, which again, I think we will just use for research. We'll start researching a little bit onto the suspension here. Again, it's also going to have losses in stats coming in next year. So we'll start and, as I said, do a little bit of research there. We'll try and balance things because, again, we do need to get things balanced here for next year anyways. So for the first project, we're just going to do it like this. We could do, say, brake cooling as well to add to it. But for now, we're just going to do this, and I think that's perfectly fine. Keep on engineering on it to, you know, keep progress good. Even if we speed it up, won't really matter too much. So we're going to be just doing that one project. Sorry, not one project. One engineer. So also we're getting the rear wing in a day, which means that we'll actually be able to manufacture that one sideboard for next race. So we'll just give it to whoever has least engine durability left. And I think that is a decent compromise. So manufacture 2 of these. I guess 3 of them is going to be okay. We'll have to see if we manufacture a 4th one there, because we can always go back to these. It's not a big change, but yeah. My main concern is actually hitting the cost cap now, because we still have some races left this season. We have, as you can see, 6 races, 17 million. We don't have a lot to go on, as I said. If we just have a couple of crashes there where we need new engines, that's going to be 10 million, and we're going to be very close to the cost cap then. So we are going to be doing research for the remainder of the season, and try not break too many parts, hopefully. Now, Qatar should not be a rainy affair, let's be honest, so it should be a lot easier for us. So with that in mind, side pods in low stock, I know, we have the manufacturer that are being manufactured, that's all I can do. But yeah, we'll have a look at these stats once we actually get close to race weekend, because we have a couple of new parts that I put on, and I've forgotten to actually show off what our stats are like. Board has high confidence in us, which is nice to see. Tsunoda has improved his smoothness, his adaptability, and his reactions. Cornering and adaptability here for Rick, which is also good. And for Lawson, he's actually also got a little bit of adaptability up there, which is also good. So Red Bull intends to be world champions. Honestly, I don't intend to stop you. I'm pretty sure you already have that in the bag. And as you can see here from what we're expecting on this date, we're going to be getting some potential troubles here. So for Qatar, we're good in terms of the schedule. For US, we're good. For Mexico, we're not. So we're going to get rid of this gym training first and foremost. And we're going to get rid of this gym training too, because as you can see, by the end of the month, the estimated pit stop time does not move, which means that we do not need to cause, change it in any direction. So that is fine. We also are well rested here for some funny reasons. So we are going to be putting in a few more pit stop drills, basically, to help us get some training going. And we can probably do a couple of pit stop drills here. Remove these just to be on the safe side before the next VP. But even then, I think we'll be safe. So they'd be tired here. Honestly, we can probably put these car building exercises back. We'll do it like this. They'll still be tired, but we'll be a little bit safer in terms of if there's a race weekend. We can, of course, check the calendar to do that. But this is what we're going to be doing this month. We're going to be focusing on mainly just pit stop errors. And as you can see here, the chance of mistake will be lowered by 0.5 percentage point. But because we're tired, we actually, are going to be a bit higher than that. Because as you can see, when we're at the sale here, its chance of mistake is 0.06. Then it jumps up by, as you can see, about 0.2%. So we're actually losing 0.7 mistake chance there, which is good. It's getting lower, and that is the goal here. We're going to try and get chance of mistake low now that we have the pit stop time done, and that should make us far more reliable in the races themselves. Again, you could do car release, but that is mainly focused on if you are going to be losing, if you're going to be doing a lot of setups. So I don't value that highly, but of course, depending on your playstyle, it might be, well, depending on if you do practices manually, it might actually be a very valuable stat for you. So this is what I'm going to do for this month in terms of pit crew training. Some underflow research has finished, and same here for the rear wing, suspension, everything happening at once. But we are, of course, going to be starting more research projects in terms of the underfloor and the rear wing. We can have a look at where we stand for next season. We're still lacking probably a ton of low speed, but again, I think this isn't updated yet. So we'll be doing one more low speed focus for the front wing for sure. And sorry, that was the wrong one. We actually did the rear wing now I think about it. We're going to be doing the same for the rear wing, medium low speed focus project. And for the underfloor, it's a shame this doesn't actually update immediately. We still need to do at least one more purely focused on low speed. Now, I do believe that we actually have some benefits here in terms of CFD time that we probably will put into the underfloor. We'll have a bit of a look at what that looks like. And as you can see, it does give us a slight boost in virtually everything. So we'll take that, we'll do it for the underfloor. And we are going to be focusing on mainly the low and the medium. So we are going to be sacrificing the other two stats. So this is what we will be going for. Low speed still. Basically, we will be able to retain the current underfloor to next season. We could do a couple of attacks there, but as you can see, we lose quite a lot of high speed by just doing those small movements. So rather than that, we will take a little bit of a bigger boost for the high speed cornering in exchange for a little bit of loss there on the low speed. Now, we can actually go back and see what effects it has to lower, as you can see, wind tunnel, lower CFD. So we will be keeping that on the research project here, and that should be the underfloor mostly done in terms of research. We can start focusing on the other projects after this. It'll be done 16th of November, which means that if we have money, we should be able to do, a project after this as well. So get that cooking. Research for the rear wing. Again, we do need to get that high-speed cornering done. But again, for the rear wing, it doesn't really matter that much. We could focus other things as well, like DRS and... sorry, it's low speed we need. And as you can see, it isn't really giving us much of a boost here on the low speed... the low speed area. So we could also do something else, say focus on the DRS delta for next year. It probably would benefit us more to do this than to get that low speed cornering. And then we can just make a rear wing that is focused on, that. But we are going to be trying to get that stat a little bit back. So probably one more like this, potentially. And we are still going to get a little bit of DRS effectiveness, a little bit of top speed, but it's going to be very minor. So again, we could do, as I said, DRS. Just try and get that up. It might be better for us in the long run. So we'll have to see what we actually do. Could do something like this. It's going to be, again, very minor. We're lacking about 0.25 in here. So I think we'll do one more project that is focused on, as I said, low speed, medium speed, high speed. Keep these things like this. That should be very, very acceptable. And we are running that cost cap very close to the limit here. So if we're unlucky, things are going to become very, very expensive very quickly. But yeah, we'll have to see. If we take a penalty for next year, at least we'll know what happens if we breach said cost cap. Both drivers in Q2. Well, Q3 for that matter too. And we should be good. I think this is doable. This is a bit risky, putting both drivers in top 10, because I feel like that is more like jinxing yourself. And we have enough money here now where we don't really need to worry too much about the cost cap. So I think what we're also going to do here is actually start the development of facilities. I would really like to do the race sim first. But to make sure that we get those new people for the team, we're going to actually do the team hub first. And that'll also leave us with a little bit more extra money in case we do need to end up having to buy an extra engine. So Noda here is, showing up because of this, but we have already signed him onto a new contract that starts as soon as his current one is out. So we don't really need to worry about that either. Let's jump into Qatar and see how we do. Okay, we have a sprint weekend here in Qatar, and me and my infinite wisdom have been clicking forwards a little bit too aggressively. As you can see, qualifying, we qualified 8th and 9th, which is around where we would expect. For the sprint itself, we went onto an aggressive strategy where the rest of them went on softs, we went on mediums. We did an aggressive run for the entirety, attacked the last couple of laps, and as you can see, Rick did a pretty good job, got himself up into 4th, Tsunoda got himself up into 7th. Could probably have gotten George Russell there at the end too. I was just a little bit too passive. But yeah, it was a pretty good sprint race. Now we have the race itself. And once again, I think we're going to be choosing kind of an aggressive strategy here, because this is actually a track that kind of suits us, because we can go full aggressive on the stints themselves, which should help us out here. And if we say change that up for every stint here, see what we can do. We can actually do something incredibly aggressive here. As you can see here, something like, say, this. Go full attack for Rick for the full medium, hard, medium. Potentially being 14 seconds quicker than soft, medium, medium. So this does give us some potential options. And because it is sprint weekend, we do have extra mediums for both cars. So we could definitely pull this off. And I think it's worth trying. So for Qatar, you can do an incredibly aggressive strategy, which again, the AI doesn't respond very well to. And if you can pull this off, we might need to run, as said, the first few laps, like 2-3 laps of each stint, aggressive just to be safe. But looking at the time you can expect here, like this one is 21:41, this is 30 seconds slower, this is even slower than that again. So with that in mind, I think this is the best strategy for Qatar. And again, aggressive is really a very good way for yourself to get ahead of the AI in this game. They have refined the AI somewhat, but because of the way they've done tire temps, you actually have huge advantages on tracks like this where you can go super aggressive. So we're going to do this and see where we end up. And also, before I go, before I jump cut, we're actually starting 2nd and 5th because of penalties for the Ferrari boys. So this is going to be probably a pretty important race for us. We've had a bit of an unlucky incident here. Tsunoda has actually run to the back of Hamilton, or rather Hamilton has caused some problems for Tsunoda, and we're having absolute mayhem behind us here. Virtual safety car, Tsunoda is going to have to pit, but on the positive note here, we have been running full attack the entire stint. As you can see, the degradation isn't even close to what we are expecting. Now, I think we did not get any damage to the powertrain once again, luckily enough. I think we're safe there, which is good. And because of the fact that we actually had a pile-up behind us, the other cars here are still parked, and this should potentially be a red flag, I would think. Look at this madness. Sainz is out, Verstappen's out. Yeah, as you can see, not unexpectedly, this little pile-up here is indeed a red flag, and we can have a bit of look here on what's going on. Sargent coming to the scene, Albon, Norris, kind of they're just lining up here. So you can imagine that this would indeed be a red flag situation. Hamilton being the root cause. Again, we'd like to see a replay. Let's see
Now
what
this
actually
was at
happened here.
turn 1. Tries to get by. Oh, that's quite an impact between them. And really,
So I guess
you've got to
Tsunoda got
imagine the
squeezed.
stewards are going to investigate this one.
And then the Ferrari hit the back of our car by the looks of things.
And
Lost
look at the
control.
team.
And that resulted in the crash. Okay. That is the way that at least I am understanding it. Now, Rick has been doing well here. We're running with Russell in second. Alonso just ran away. Tsunoda didn't have a very good start to the race. And he's probably not going to have a good continuance of the race here because his confidence is gone. We were running him on medium though, so it is what it is. More cars piling up there. So if it hadn't been a safety car, we probably would have had, yeah, a bit of a bigger advantage here. Verstappen was not very happy, and to be fair, that I think would be his reaction in reality as well. So we are gonna need a new front wing here. We're gonna be putting him on the hard. Because of the degradation being as low as it is, I think we can do hard to medium here with no big problems. We could of course slap in a soft stint here, but honestly, the softs do degrade pretty quick. As we saw, hard to medium here should be potentially the quicker one, and judging by what's been going on so far, again, this is 14 laps in, the degradation is nowhere near what we expected, and we have been running full attack. So I think the hard tires, they will actually make it to the softs, sorry, the mediums here, no problem. So we'll go ahead and do that. For Tsunoda, of course, we are going to be replacing that major damage front wing, and we're also going to be putting him too on the hards.
Red flag, red flag.
So with that entire little, party, I'm a bit surprised that the only car that got knocked out is Verstappen. As you can see, we have some fireworks there. So soft tires have been chosen, medium tires. I see at least one other set of hard on Leclerc. But generally, yeah, people have opted for running a bit more of a passive setup than us. Well, a bit more aggressive, I guess is the right wording here. But as I said, I think these tires will make it until the mediums, and I'll be changing the run plan as we go. And once again, we have even more penalties here. Sargent has done something. And we have potentially here another red flag immediately, I think. That looks very identical to what happened to us, just a little bit more high speed. So definitely another red flag. And Bottas is out. Are we going to see any other cars out here? Probably not. But this should give us enough fuel that we can just push to the end now. So, yeah. I don't think we're going to change anything. Unfortunately, as you can see, Tsunoda did lose out a little bit. But that's how it is. We're not going to do any changes. We're going to stick on these. It's fine, honestly. Same for Tsunoda. I'm wondering if the others here on 99% tires are going to be switching them. And that would be actually interesting to see.
As the race restarts.
So we have some more fire in the back there. I believe that's Hulkenberg, who crashed in the sprint race. So, yeah. They stayed on their tires by the looks of things, and that shouldn't be a big surprise, really. It is the best thing to do here. And Rick is falling down a little bit. Tsunoda is falling down a bit too. But again, what we want to do here is just try and stay with the group. Try our best, and as we'll be doing that last stint on the mediums. Everyone here that has gone on some other tire will probably have to pit, I think. They'll also be pitting just once. But the goal here is by running these hards on aggressive, as the others degrade, we will be getting more and more into an advantage. So if we can stay within DRS of, say, Russell, stay within DRS of Hamilton and the rest here, I think we'll have a good chance of good points. But I think Alonso, unless we have more safety cars and red flags, are going to take this by a landslide. So we'll see what happens if we get some more mayhem as the race progresses.
The tire temperatures. We will keep an eye on tire temperatures.
As you can see, we need to keep an eye on tire temperatures, but as you can see from degradation here, it's not even close to being bad, even if we're running it aggressively. Lusail is probably the best track currently for this, I'd say, running aggressively. And as you can see, Rick is currently running second, and we have Tsunoda running fourth. However, it's going to be hard for Rick here to keep Leclerc at bay. For Tsunoda, it's going to be a fight with Ocon and potentially Perez. But we are getting closer to the end here. Leclerc is on better tires. We're going to have to try and have a bit of a fight there. I think Alonso is going to win unless he crashes out. We haven't really had anything happen since the last couple of red flags of madness. But this is looking very, very promising for us. And again, we can go full attack to the end here on these tires. We might need to tune Tsunoda down a little bit towards the end here. But it's just 5 laps to go. So I'm pretty sure we are perfectly safe. The only thing is we're going to have to try and get both our drivers kind of set up for these fights that they're going to have. Tsunoda with Ocon and Ricciardo with Leclerc. But our first podium is currently within grasp. And we'll see if we can actually embrace it. So currently we're just running a little bit of top up. Tsunoda is actually basically full. We might need to run a little bit more aggressive on Ricciardo here in terms of recharging. So we'll harvest for him. Tsunoda again should just be enough to, should just have enough to keep those tires in. But it'll be the fight with Ocon there. That's going to be the interesting part. Now, I'm going to run this at 4 times just to make sure that I don't make too many mistakes, because we are going to have to try and set both drivers up for the fights. And running it at 8, 8 or above is going to make that a little bit difficult. But yeah, we do want to try and get enough energy for Rick. He is still harvesting. It is still keeping Leclerc behind, which is, again, pretty mad. Just 3 laps left here. Tsunoda is doing everything he can as well, but tire degradation here is just non-existent. So, again, on some tracks, going full aggressive might really pay off tremendously. Now, we actually have Perez and Ocon behind us, which could potentially cause us some mayhem there. We have Rick running with, as said, Leclerc. And Tsunoda should just about have enough in these tires to last the remaining 2 laps. That Alonso are just about to start final lap there. And we are going to need to give Rick and Tsunoda probably everything right now. Give them the push. And we do need Rick to kind of try and catch up with Leclerc and get the overtake done here. He is on deploy. For Tsunoda, it's mainly just defend. So him too, we can put on deploy here. And Rick should be able to get Leclerc into that corner. And he does. And he now shouldn't have too much of a problem just staying ahead. Same here for Tsunoda. Kind of the same thing. And it's mainly just now to keep onto the advantage that we have and maybe not run out of fuel. We have run out of ERS for Rick. That could be potentially bad, but I think we are safe. And our first podium is,
Okay, we take the flag.
it's a done deal. We almost got a double podium, 2nd and 4th in our first season here with Alpha Tauri. I say that's fairly acceptable. That's our best result so far. And again, can't really do anything about Alonso there, running ahead. We could have tried to fight him, but let's face it, it wouldn't have done us any good, honestly. Now, Tsunoda did have a bit of a bad day, but it is what it is. It's still a really, really good result here. 2nd and 4th, we can be very, very happy with it. Verstappen did get taken out with Sainz in that cutoff with Red Bull. Well, with the red flag cutoff. So that probably also helped us. Because let's face it, if there was another Verstappen was up here, Sainz was up here, potentially we could have lost out, but we did beat Perez. So maybe we'd be fine. It's a bit hard to judge and tell. But yeah, I think we can be very, very happy with that. Give us a nice bunch of points. And that puts us 40 points now ahead of Merc. So with 5 races to go, I think it is, that puts us in a very, very promising position. DHL, we still have sub 2 seconds pit stops, getting points this time around instead of the randomness of last race, and we can be very happy with that. I think these results are very acceptable. Qualifying 8th and 9th for the sprint, improved and improved. So we've been making progress from, well, every step that we could, get a decent chunk of money, and we can be very, very happy with that. Yeah, I'd say that is a very, very good time. We did lose the front wing though. I believe we destroyed one in the... Well, we did destroy one. I don't know if that is what failed, but I would assume so. And we have underflow as well. So we failed an underflow, we failed the front wing, and we probably had another one destroyed. So we'll check the warehouse after we replace the front wings here. So yeah, we have 3. We're going to have to manufacture a couple more. Because they are, they are basically expendable. Now, well, since we are so late in the season, we could start to just allow 1 extra part between races. It's a bit risky, and it would force us to use all the parts if we were unlucky. but it could be a way for us to save a little bit of finances here. We still have 50 million left of the cost cap, but again, we just need one bad crash to make that into a problem. So we'll see what we do. Now, I think we are going to be ending this episode here. I'd say that is a pretty good race to end it on. We've made a lot of progress this season, and research-wise, we're also doing well, I dare say. So feel free to come with your questions. If you have any, let me know, and I'll try and respond to them to the best of my knowledge. But research-wise, the front wing does need some work, as you can see here. The rear wing, same, does need some work. The underfloor, we basically caught up once we finish the current project, so that is good. Suspension we haven't even started on, but as you can see, we're going to be losing a large amount of low speed, medium speed, and high speed downforce, so we might need to work a little bit on that next season. But honestly, at this stage, I think it's fine. So once again, thank you for watching. I do hope that you've enjoyed, and I do hope to see you around next time. Hopefully, I'll see you there. But yeah, this has been fun so far. Next part is going to be the end of Season 1, and we'll see what we do from there forwards. Because as things are going, with a little bit of luck, as I said, we can potentially win a race this season, which would be kind of funny. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.